Beleno Chime, Easley here. Gonna continue our lesson with the 8th chapter. Again, this is book 1. So this is page 15. Okay, so we're dealing with the goddess called Teteoh Innan. Let's break it down. Teteoh, like I said, again, is spelled without the H here, but that's plural. Okay, Teteoh. Some words are just reduplicated like this at the beginning. So that extra te is the thing that makes it pluralized along with the H at the end. So Teteoh Innan. The in part is referring to there. Okay, and then nantli, this is nan, inan, inantli, possessed nouns lose their absolute ending. Okay, so the tli is dropped. So this reads as she is their mother. She is their mother. She is the mother of the Teteoh. So the subject in which is has ownership, it actually occurs before. Okay, so in this case, the Teteoh, she is their mother. Okay, words like mother, father, children, they're always possessed in Nahuatl. Uh, it's a very consistent rule, even to the present day. If I say, like for example, let's say if I say mi tía conewa, that's like a Spanish way of saying I have kids, right? Like tía is I have kids, but that's not like you can say that in Nahuatl, and some Nahuatl speakers may say that, but it's actually this is what we call a calc. This is a this is like using Nahuatl to say something in Spanish. In reality, what we will say is no conewa. So in this case, the children, they're mine. They're my children. Okay, so we have to show ownership whenever we're talking about father. So or mother, you can't say like, you know, father, mother. Like you can say natli and tatli, mostly in the dictionaries, you'll see that, right? But in general speech, like, you have to specify whose mother are you talking about, right? You may have also heard another example, Tonansin. Tonansin. This is our respected, the scene at the end is our respected mother. This is our. She belongs to us. She is our respected mother. Okay. And so that's that process. And so very interesting. The mother of all the Teteoh. And as we know, there are a lot of Teteoh. So let's read this first sentence and see what we got. Inik chikoei capítulo. Onka montanewa insiwateok. In itoka Teteoh inan. No motoka yotia tlali iyolo iwan tosi. So let's break this part down over here. Okay, so here it is expressed. Remember, this word means expressed. This is here it begins the 8th chapter. Here it is expressed about where where it's they said the goddess. This is the word that they're translating as goddess. It's the female Teot. Okay, the female Teot. Whose name is the I right here. I is her name. So her name, the name belongs to her. Okay, so a name is Tokait. Tokait is name. Okay, so if I say I Toka, that's her name. Her name is Teteoh Innan. We know what that means already. This part, no, it's a new word for us. New is also in the same way or in addition. So in addition or another way that she's named, right? She was given, she gave herself. Remember, this mo is reflexive, so it's interesting they're using mo. It's not like somebody gave her the name, it's like she gave herself the name, right? So she gave herself the names Tlali Iyolo. Tlali Iyolo. Tlali is earth. E is again possessive, so it's we're talking about the earth. Remember I said that the thing that owns the object is actually in the beginning. So right here, Tlali owns Iolo, its heart. Okay. It is the heart of the earth, is how we call Teteoh Innan. That's another name. And Tosi. So anytime you see Tosi or Tlali Iolo, then we're talking about Teteoh Innan. A lot of times these Teteoh, they had multiple names, multiple titles. And so it's very important that we understand that Tosi is not like distinct from Teteoh Innan. It's just one of her names. Okay, so that's that part. And then the next sentence says, Inan katka in Teteo kimo teotiaya in titisi in teitzminke tetlanoquilique teixpatique. And so what they're saying here is that um what this is was right here, katka. Katka is was, okay. She was their mother. She was their mother. Kimoteotiaya that was worshipped. Okay, she was the mother of the Teteo. And she was worshipped by who? The Titisi. Titisi is the women physicians. This again is reduplication. So just like Teteo is plural of Teot, Titisi is the plural of this word right here. So let me type it. Tisi. Okay, Tisi. So it's the exact same process. See, we're learning so much just from learning these few pages about grammar, right? About all of these different words, how to pluralize. Pluralization and Nahuatl is very flexible. It's not like the consistent process where I told you earlier, right? About possession, especially of family members. Pluralization is actually very flexible, and there are so many different ways to pluralize a word. It's actually best not to try to learn a particular word, a particular rule, I should say, because it's just varied and it's just, you just have to know it. Very few nouns, I would say, would get pluralized like this in reduplication. Okay, so it is not common. So we have teteo, and then we have titisi. Same exact thing. We're just adding an H to the end, dropping the TL in this case, and then adding a T in the beginning. Whenever we do that, where it's a pluralization now. Okay, so DC, by the way, is most often, in most cases, it's translated as midwife. Okay, and so all of these people are the ones that worshipped Teteoh Innan. These ones also, it says, and in Siwa, this is exactly what I was just saying. That the pluralization is very look at this. They pronounce it or they pluralize it as Siwa. But guess what? Siwame is another way to pluralize Siwa. Or for Siwat, I should say. Siwat is plural. I mean singular. So you can say Siwame. Siwame would be plural, but in this case, they're saying Siwa. So you'll see both actually. You'll see both. In fact, let me see if I can. No, actually, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Siwame. Just because there's so many varied spellings, I don't know. Yeah, it might be spelled with a C. It probably is. Like, see how it's spelled like this? It looks like chow. It looks like chow, right? So that's why I was hesitant to look for this because um yeah, the spelling is not regularized. But anyways, maybe not in the Florentine, maybe they just use Siwa, but in other places you will see Siwame. And a lot of modern variants they'll use Siwame. But again, they're just kind of synonyms of each other is how you want to think about it. because like I said, pluralization is very, very flexible. And so I went in Siwa and the women and the women, and then it just lists a bunch of different, these are occupations. They're all physicians of some sort. Okay. So who worshipped at the Teteoh Innan? Well, it tells you all these people did. These are all physicians. Very specific things. So for this, we're going to go back to the Florentine. It's a little blurry on the right side. Apologize for that, but it says you've got the physicians. They're translating this word, titisi, which I translated as midwives. They're translating that as physicians. The female physicians, and then they're saying those who cured the hemorrhoids, the leeches, those who purged people, those who cured eye ailments, worshipped her. Those who administered sedatives at childbirth, those who brought about abortions, who read the future, who cast auguries by looking upon water, or by casting grains of maize, who read fortunes by use of knotted cords, who removed intrusive objects, who removed worms from the teeth and worms from the eyes. So obviously, very specific, right? One thing I'll note is that like some of these things, like the worms in the teeth and the worms in the eyes, you may be wondering about that. These are put by the Tlacatecolo, or more precisely, the Nahuatl, most often called the Nahuatl, which I think we've encountered that word before, Nahuatl. Those are the things that the Nahuatl does. So they do bad things to people, right? They put stuff in their bodies that don't belong there, right? And so the physician's job was to just kind of cure all of that. So let's look back at the regularized spelling, and we'll see if we can see some of that in here. Okay, so this word right here, I looked up because that one is interesting. That one is the physician who brings about abortions. So let's take a look at that. It's the verb is tlatlashilia, which we see here, tlatlashilike. Okay, so that ke at the end is just the people who do that thing, the people who administer abortions. To, the te means to people or for people, right? They administer abortions to or for people. And so that word does track knowingly abort a baby. Okay. This one is really interesting. This is tlapoke. And it said they were, what did it say? Tlapoke right here. Those who read the future, who cast auguries by looking upon water, or by casting grains, or knotted cords. So that we see here. Atlan, looking, the itani. So let me do a little mini lesson here on this. If I say te ita, okay, so if I said te ita, that means he or she looks at people. The te prefix means people. The ita means sees. Okay, so he or she looks at people. But the ni, like tlatoani, that ni at the end means the person who does that thing. Okay, so in this case, the speaker, the ruler in the Nahuatl culture is the one who speaks. So this means the one who sees people using water. Okay, let me get rid of this. The one who sees people, Atlan, Okay, so Tlaatlan. Let's see what pops up here. There it is. Who sees people from the water, in the water. By the way, this, I found this. I'm so lucky because there's about 12,000 words here. Okay, this is the largest dictionary I've found of classical Nahuatl, larger than the Molina dictionary from the 16th century, and larger than the Cartuden dictionary, the analytical dictionary of Nahuatl. This is specifically vocabulary from the Florentine Codex. This is Joe Campbell made this. So basically, what I'm doing right now, just going through, looking at all the words, defining them, he did exactly that thing. So this is going to help us tremendously. Okay, and I'm gonna give this to all of my patrons. I'll put in the description of the video on Patreon so you can download it. This is the most exhaustive dictionary you're gonna find. Yeah, but it's specifically of the Florentine, which is nice because it's got all the conjugations. You'll find donan here, you'll find Innan here, right? So it's not just a dictionary, but it's also conjugations, which is awesome. Because a lot of the dictionaries will just have the word itself, not necessarily the prefix, right? And so this is a great companion dictionary for the Florentine. I just can't believe that Joe Camel made this available. I thought he had kept it, but it's out in the public. And so now you can have it if you're a patron. Anyways, it means using water, right? Tlapoque is interesting because if you've ever heard of Donald Poque are the people who read the days. They read the days. Okay. These are like the birthdays, the birthday you were born on. They'll read them and tell you what the time of your birth means. But in this case, it's la. Oh, okay. So in this case, they're reading the Donali, the days. In this case, they're reading things. This is just things in general. Tala is things. So apparently it means like people who are predicting the future. And we know that it means that because, well, I can put it into the dictionary I just told you. This is actually superior to the other one I was using. This one, the Oregon Nahuatl dictionary, because like I said, they strip all the words down to just the verbs, which are meaningless in Nahuatl anyway, so there's no use. But yeah, so they're saying soothsayers, atlapoke, right? So these are people who tell the future. How? By seeing people using water. That's how they tell the future. This is atlaon, the throwing of corn, which, by the way, a lot of indigenous societies still have that process. And then mekat. This is that corded rope they were talking about, by reading the ropes. Okay. So they're reading the knots in the ropes, and that's how they do that. So these are all physicians, people who help others. What else? They remove the worms from the eyes, from the teeth. We can see that this is ish. Okay, this is the eyes. They're removing it from the eyes. The worm is here. Oquil. Oquilin is worm. Okay, so they're removing, and then the they, of course, is people. They're removing the removers of worms from people's eyes. How you want to read that? And then you have oquil here, worm, and then in this case it's tlan, so it's the teeth, in the teeth, in the teeth of people that they, okay. And so that is what all of this says, right? So the translations are pretty good. And then let's go on to the third part here. It says no. So no means also. Yeah, one thing. Cuitlalatiaya in Temascaleque. Some of you may be familiar with that. Temascal Eke, right? This is Temascal, Temascali, Temascali. That's the steam rooms, the steam rooms. Now, in pre-Columbian times, the steam rooms were used for healing, especially people who gave birth. So, likewise, owners of sweat houses prayed to her. Wherever they caused her image to be placed in the front of the sweat house, they called her grandmother of the baths. So let's find that here. Let's see. Let's see if we can find this in our Joe Campbell dictionary. Yeah, there it is. They asked her, they exhorted her. Okay, so they asked her. So they asked her. Okay, so yeah, they asked her. Okay, so what about you one thing? You one thing is a pronoun. The really interesting thing, I don't think we may have mentioned it once before, but this is the pronoun for they, them. You can say the one thing, they one for you one thing for them. These are pronouns, and I want you to notice that they're not used very often. They're used very sparingly. Okay, only when we're referring to somebody, right, from a previous sentence, in this case here. Okay, so we say also they, talking about these people, all these people, right? They asked her, they asked her. The owners, remember the e at the end is talking about the owners of the Temascali. Okay. Y Pampa. Pampa, if you know a modern Azteca Nahuatl, is because, and look, it has the same meaning in classical Nahuatl. But the only difference is y Pampa. A lot of times in Huasteca Nahuatl, it'll just see Pampa. Okay. But y Pampa. So again, the differences are a little minute. They're not very large differences. You see a difference here and there. By the way, I'll mention that the modern variants utilize, they overuse pronouns. And that's because of Spanish influence. In Spanish, you always have to say, you always have to use a pronoun, right? Mi casa, my house. And so people, that's actually not a good example. That's possession. Let's see. Um, yo soy maestro. Yo soy maestro. I am a teacher. Yo is the pronoun, right? Soy, I am, and then maestro, teacher. But you gotta, if you say soy maestro, right? Like it makes sense in some context, but most of the time you want to use the yo. And that's the same thing that's happening here. A lot of times people who study classical Nahuatl and then they hear modern Nahuatl, they're like, oh my God, it sounds very Hispanicized. And it's true. It's true. They're always like, instead of saying no toca, I could say no toca Itzli. I could say no toca Itzli, right? Like that's my name is Itzli. It's a full sentence. But a lot of times in modern Nahuatl, you'll hear people say na, na no toca Itzli. And it's just using a pronoun where it's not, it's just using, it's like using the pronoun just like a Spanish person would, right? And so that's unfortunate. A lot of people lament that. But again, it's 500 years Spanish influence, so we can't blame them, right? That's just naturally going to happen. Okay, this doesn't pop up, but I think I may have misspelled that, but lalia is the main verb here. It helps if we can just use this when you can't use the other one. Okay, set down, establish. So remember, it said they set down, they placed in front of the sweat house. So that's what that means. In Ishipla, I imagine is in front of. Oh no, in this case, it's her image. Okay, so they placed. What did they place? They placed her image in Temascalixcuac. Okay. And then it said she's called the grandmother of the bath. So Tesi. Tesi Temazcal, Tesi. Grandmother. Grandmother. Tesi, there it is. Tesitli. Tesi. Tesi. Okay, Tesitli. They dropped tli at the end. Tesi. So Temazcal Tesi, the grandmother of the Temazcal. They didn't have to draw that ending, by the way, but they did. I don't know why, but so we expect Temazcal Ixcuac, then Ixcuac should be in front of, right? Ixcuac. I gotta maybe change this Q. Yes. Forehead. So the fact that it's translating it to forehead means that, yes, it's probably something in the front. Ixcuac. No, okay, so yeah, we're gonna say that Ixcuac, the Temazcal Ixcuac means in front of. They placed her image in front of the Temazcali. And she was also named Kitoka Wisitoka, Toko Ya Yotia. That means that they're giving her the name. They or Ya is past tense. And also they gave her the name. Okay, they gave her the name Temazcaltesi. Okay, so now she has multiple names. I think there's actually an image of Temazcali with her on it. Let's see if we can find it. Google Temazcali. Potosi. I believe that's the one. Here she is. Look at that. This is her, Teteoh Innan. She is in front of the Temazcal. This is what a Temazcal looks like. Okay. They're heating up the water, it's creating steam, and it's healing people. Okay, heat baths. Perfect. So isn't that nice? We have a really nice translation. This is actually a pretty long entry. Let's see what else it says. Okay, so out in Iquac, so this Q should be C. Out in Iquac, and like that, in Ye, Iwikish. Tilioya, in Ye, Imikistekipa, in Yowantin, Titisi, Tisi, in Ishiplakatka, Teteoh Innan. Kitlanene Ktia, Nektiaya, Kitlane Nekiltiaya, Ki Senseltiaya, Akichoktlania, Ki Tlatla Titiaya, Momikis que loaya, Ki Nekal Itiaya, Ki Yauchio ya, Ki Lacao, Chilia aya, Goyo iaya, Tlawis Nestiloya, Netlawis Makoya, Netlao Tiloya, in Kimilwika, Mochioya, in Tiacacahua, ik Kintisawiaya, ik Kinpotoniaya, Kimotzquilitoya, ikpani Moquetzaya. That's a big sentence, that's a big paragraph. Let's see what it says here. Okay, so and when a feast day was celebrated for her, when it was time for the slaying of one who was the impersonator of the Teteoh Innan, the physicians sought to banish her sorrow, that she might not weep. They amused her, they flattered her, they satisfied her caprices. They made her happy, they wished her not to weep. They hid her fate from her. They made merry with one another about death. They skirmished, they made war. They cried war cries, battle cries for her. Devices were exhibited. There was giving of devices, there was giving of gifts, which became the binding force of valiant warriors. Wherefore they painted them with white chalk, therefore they pasted them with downy feathers. They surrounded her, so they stood over her. Okay, so we're talking about the Teishipla. Teishipla is the human impersonator of that Teot. And when they impersonate that Teot, they become that Teot. And so we can see some of the words. Ilwi on her feast day. Ilwi is comes from Iluit. Iluit. It's still used today as a feast. Imikis. Okay, that's Mikis' death. Let's see if Joe Campbell says something about that. Nope. Okay. One thing to see the female physicians and the Shipla of Teteoh Innan was, and then it goes on to kind of just explain all of the different things that they did, right, to make her happy. Yeah, chill. Yeah. What could say? Yeah, Ikbani. They surrounded her, so they stood over her. Okay. So these are all, just kind of repetitious things that they did for her. You know that the war words are going to be the ones with the Yao, right? These are when they're talking about the warriors. Death is going to be Mikis, right? So there's a lot of words that we can look for in order to understand where we're at. Getza. Getza means to stand up. Okay, so she stood herself up. Okay, they were over her. And it says, "Al in Ikwak," and when she, in this case, it says he died, but it's she died. Onmik is the past tense. But it's she died, and when she died, well, who the Ishipla the Ishipla died. This Niman could be now, soon, then, completely, absolutely. This is a word that has changed to Naman in the Huasteca Nahuatl. If you say Naman, it means today, right? Which kind of has the general feel of it. Okay, in this case, it's probably then or immediately or soon after, right? Uh, let's see the original translation of this. And when she who was the likeness was slain, yeah, that's right. So soon after she was killed, or it says slain, right? Slain. But in this case, Onmik just died. And when she died, so in this case, we'll say immediately or soon after, thereafter. One Setlakat. Setlakat is one person, one man, one person. Onmikiaya. Onmikiaya. Put on. What did he put on? On makiaya. He put on in Iawayo. Iawayo, her skin. Iawayo. Okay. Put on her skin in Napantla, in the midst of them, in the midst of it came forth to Ikweshoa Kiwikaya. This is carried. What is Ikweshoa? Let's see. And stood between two of his washticks. Washticks. So in this case, they're talking about like Huastecas, like Huasteca Nahuatl, they're talking about two Huastecs who accompanied him on either side. He stood between two of his Huastecs. So that's what that means there. Okay, the two, maybe this is Huastecs right here. I don't know. But they were there. I don't know what this word is. So we'll just trust the translation there. And then the next part is they were painted with white chalk with marks like hawk scratches. They went naked with a rope for breech clout. On their backs, they carried a paper crown provided with protruding spindles, coneflowers, and quetzal feathers. So if we look back here, this is the quetzal feathers. This is the cotton. Okay, Kimama is the word they're using for to have it on their back, right? So they had on their back these things, Kimama, they had on these back. This is the quetzal feather right here, quetzalo. Amakali, we already determined is like a paper crown they wore on their head, right? Paper crown. Yep, paper crown. So okay, backwards there, but on their backs, they wore the paper crown, the cotton flowers, and the quetzal feather. So this word is cotton flowers. Okay, the yo is yet another word for ownership. So this is cotton, ika, shochio, shochi, ika, ika, ikat, ikat, cotton. Okay, cotton flowers. And what was the beginning? They were painted with white chalk and with hawk scratches. They were naked. So san only, pepetlati in meme mashli. This is the breechcloth right here. They're talking about the rope breechcloths. Okay, so they were only had their rope breechcloths. Some of these other ones, I think the spellings are a little too inconsistent to come out. But so one of these words must mean painting. I still haven't figured out which word is painted. The mole means like, again, it's reflexive. So I don't know. These words are probably not going to appear. Okay, so we'll just take the word for it that that means they were painted with white chalk. And this means they were naked, white chalk, and scratched like hawk feathers. So very intricate word here. Hawk, I'll show you the word for hawk. Well, tlotli, I think is what they have here. Tlotli or totli, tlotli. Tlot, tlotli. Okay. So those are kind of complicated words, but you can see the word for hawk. Let's see what chalk is. Tisat, tisat. There it is. Tisat. Okay. So tisat, they were painted with chalk, like hawk feather scratches. They were only naked except for their breechcloths that they carried on their backs, the paper crown, the and the quetzal feathers and the cotton flowers. Ompa Concagua in Tosititlan, Coatlapechco, Contlaliaya in Iahuayo. See what they say here. They brought to Tosititlan the man wearing the skin of the victim. They left her skin upon a wooden bench. So let's see here. her skin. They left her skin. This is the wooden bench right here. Guau tlapechco. Okay, a bench that is wooden. The wood part is guau. Guauit is wood, the wooden bench. Okay, they placed it there. Con means in that direction. They placed it there. What? Her skin. Okay, and concagua does in fact mean they deliver it. Okay, ompa. They left it there, and so that is that part. Ompa. Ompa is there. Okay, so there. In there, they left it in the Totitlan. On the wooden bench, they placed her skin. Notice how this name has Tosi in it, right? But it also has Sitit in it, Sititi. So let's see what comes up when we search for this place. Huh, nothing. Oh, let me fix this. So it was in the entrance of Tenochtitlan. It was a shrine next to the place of the goddess Tosi. Okay, so we're talking about Tosi, Tosititlan, Tosititlan. So it doesn't have physicians in the name. And for those of you wondering, let's go a little grammar lesson here. We have Tosi, Tlan. So the Tlan is next to the T actually does not have any meaning. It's a glue. It's a glue that puts the two pieces together. The Tosi and the Tlan, Tosititlan, like Tenochtitlan, right? Tositlan would be fine, pronounceable, but it's just one of the rules in Nahuatl. Whenever we use Tlan, we use T in front, and that's just how it works. Probably because some words that you can put in front don't really mesh well with Tlan, right? And so that's probably like Tenoch is a good example. Tenochtitlan, Tenochtitlan. That's there's a if it ends with a consonant, right? If the first word ends up with a consonant, it's not going to sound right. And so that's part of the reason why they have the theta, right? So that if it ends with a consonant, so that it sounds a little better, it's a little easier to say. Now, what is all about that? The easier, the better. Make our lives easier by using rules like this. Tosititlan and Tenochtitlan rather than Tenochtitlan. Okay, so there's another mini lesson, grammar. Let's go back here. And so we've just finished here. Now this is just going to go over all of the things that Teteoh Innan is wearing. So you might see a trend, a pattern, very similar to all the other Teteoh. She has liquid rubber on her lips. If you remember that picture I showed you, she was full of liquid rubber. See the liquid rubber right here on her lips? That tracks, right? Like the artist knew what they were doing when they drew that picture. That's a really cool thing about the Florentine. Like the Florentine has so much evidence, archaeological evidence. Other codexes, they have pictorial evidence that supports it. So we know the Florentine Codex is highly, highly reliable as a result. Okay, like there's a place called Tosititlan. They were not making that up. It's in the entrance of Tenochtitlan, right? And so it's one of those things where the more it is validated by other sources, the more we can say, like, okay, these guys have some real knowledge, right? And this is important. This is a very, very important book as a result. You can tell right away, they're not making stuff up, right? Like this, there's really a wooden bench there. and they really put skin there. And all of these things track. So they have liquid rubber on the lips. Representation of a hole was on each cheek. Hey, we saw that in the picture as well. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? 2 holes. Wow. Exactly. I don't think this is the Florentine. I don't think this is the Florentine. I think it's a different book. It might be, I don't even want to say, but I think it's a different book. She had cotton flowers. She had a ball with palm strips. She had a shell-covered skirt called a star skirt. She had the star skirt. Eagle feathers were strewn over her shift. It was strewn with eagle feathers. It had white eagle feathers, pointed eagle feathers. Her golden shield was perforated in the center. She carried a bird foot. She used a broom. She carried a broom. So let's take a look at that. Ao inik nechichiwale. Nechichiwale. Come up. But I think that we encountered this before. Chichiwa. Chichiwa is the word. Just don't remember what it meant, but it's oh yeah, to dress oneself, to fix oneself up. This is how vocabulary acquisition works, right? Ne is actually this is the possessive when you're using it as a noun. So chichiwale. Chichiwale is probably not wale, it's probably like this. Chichiwale, maybe? Let's see if we fix that. There it is. No, there it is. So see, sometimes you just have to look at the word and say, hey, le, like just like I did, right? Like I know that ne is only used with nouns. I'll give you an example. Another mini grammar lesson. Ne sawal koyo. Ne sawal koyo. And this means the fasting coyote. These are nouns. And so you cannot put mo in front of nouns. If you want to do reflexive, you have to use ne. Okay. So that means that he's a fasting coyote. He's fasting himself, is what that means. Okay. And so right here, the adornment, the ne means she adorned herself. She adorned herself, just like he's doing the fast to himself. Okay, so that ne is a signal. It's a noun, and that's how I knew that could not have le at the end. It could have if it's possession, right? But not in this case. So good. We got that. Mo ten ol copy. So again, this is a reflexive, but in this case, it's mo, right? So it's a verb. Now, so let's see if see Joe Campbell's work is just so valuable. Look how many words it's got, but it doesn't have that one. Let's go back to the original. Mo te lo copy. Mo te lo copy. Okay. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Oh, thin. I think thin is lips actually. Thin is, oh yeah, here we go. Thin is the lips. She put on her lips. What? Ol. Ol is oli. Oli. That's rubber. So this copy, I think, is the verb that we're looking for. So sometimes you just have to look at it and see what can we recognize. There's copies here, but I don't think that's gonna work. Let's try copy here. B. Yeah, so maybe it's just missing that na at the end, mokopina. Um, so she has rubber on her lips. Okay. Tlaxapochtli. This is a hole. So these are the holes. Tlaxapochtli. Really interesting word there. Tlaxapochtli. She has those, right? Himo Tlalalili. Let's see what Tlala is. But yeah, I think it just means she placed the rubber and on each cheek. On each, this must be cheek gum. Come up, let's see. Come up. Yeah, come up, Kamapantli. The cheeks of the face. There it is. Kamapantli. Kamapantli. Kamapa. Kamapa. So it's possessed on her cheeks, E. And when the tli is dropped, the N is also dropped. Kamapa. Okay? I kamapa. So we got that. And we already know Ika Shochiwa. Wa means she is the owner of the cotton flowers. I would love to see what these cotton flowers look like. That is, she had the cotton flowers, right? She had a ball with palm strips. Must be this one here. So this is very obscure. So yeah. So that's the small palm, actually, the soya. Soya is the small, the palm that they're talking about. She had, so it's palm strips. She had a ball with palm strips. This much. So this one is the quay. Quay. She had the shell. She had the shell skirts. Uh, shell. Ayo. Ipli. Quechly. There it is. Quechly. Sometimes there's, words for like particular types of shells, right? So in this case, it's quechly. It's a long spiraling shell. Quechly. Quechque. Okay. Que. This is skirt. Okay, so this is at the end. She owned the shell skirt. Moquechqueti. So they're saying that again. Ik mitoa. Mitoa. So it said Sitlal Ique. So she had it is said the star skirt, and then this is ownership. She has the star skirts. Sitlalque. Sitlalique. So a lot of people think Sitlalique is a distinct tail, but the way it's used here makes it seem it's probably not. It's probably not a distinct tail because there are several Teteoh that we'll find that wear the star skirt and Ilamatekli wears the star skirt, right? And so if you Teteoh Innan wears the star skirt, and so it's just a skirt that they probably have in common. And then this, you see the qua, there's a lot of qua. This is all the eagle adornments that they're talking about. Okay. So this is strewn. What is strewn? There it is. Eagle feathers were strewn over her shift. So that's what they're talking about. Huawei. The eagle feathers were strewn over her shift. So shift. I don't know why they do this, guys, but again, I think I mentioned it before. It's like, these are native Nahuatl speakers, right? And so a lot of times when they're writing, they just write as they speak. And so a lot of times in English, we don't pronounce every single sound, right? So that's the same thing that happens in all languages, including Nahuatl. So when they're writing, they're not always including the sound because we know we should be wipili, right? Wipili. And so we know, okay, it's a blouse. Wipil. So we know they're kind of, and that makes our job harder, doesn't it? Because we're just trying to figure out what they're saying, and if they're not using all of the sounds, it makes it hard. Istak, Wawio, that's white. Istak is white. Eagle feathers. Okay, pointed eagle feathers. So this is all, that's what they're talking about here. In Ichimal, Chimal, her shield. They said that her shield had perforated in the center. So that's what this means. I see gold here though. Teoquitla. Oh, there it is. Gold and shield. Her shield, which was golden, right? Teoquitla the chapo. Let's see if Joe Campbell has this word. No. Okay, so her shoulder was golden, and this is Toto. Toto is bird. Ikshi is foot. Bird foot. She had the bird foot. She carried a bird foot. She was the broom. So this must mean something with the broom, right? Looks like a verb though. Bowl. Oh, I think it's because it's possessed. You know what the weird thing is? Yep. Bopot. Bopot. Okay. So you know what the weird thing is here is you say it's popoa, right? Popoa. It's not like if you have oha ending, that's actually a verb, but it's not a verb because she used a broom. This is broom. And so this word, believe it or not, is not popoa. It's actually popoa. Believe that? You believe that? So again, they're leaving out several sounds, right? And it just makes it all confusing. But she owns a broom, the popot that's yelling and gets dropped. She is the owner of the broom. She carries the broom. And that is that. So that is the Teteoh Innan. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about this, right? But this was a really long entry, but I think we learned a lot. So awesome. Every time we should be learning new vocabulary. This is the best way to do it. Okay, if you're a patron, utilize this, please. And again, I'll also go ahead and link that document, the Joe Campbell document. Okay, so take a look for that in the Patreon description. Tlaskamati,